My name is Rick Brackett. I'm the Conservancy's land manager and GIS specialist. I recognize a lot of you. Others of you probably know me by name or by face, but we may not have been introduced. I'm sure what you figured out by now, if you didn't already know it before, is that in my time away from the Conservancy, I'm a hunter. And it's from that perspective that I'd like to talk to you about how the Monadnock region's landscape and resources sustain me as an individual. As a hunter, at a basic level, I obtain food from this landscape in the form of wild game. Venison, turkey, grouse, waterfowl, hare, and fish. Food is a basic need for sustaining my body, but hunting here in the Monadnock region has also fed me mentally, spiritually, and professionally. Imagine yourself in the wood, sitting on the ground with your back against a tree. It's an hour before sunrise, and everything you see is in different shades of gray. The moonlight casts shadows of tree trunks. Everything beyond 25 yards is hidden in a dark gray fog into which you cannot see. There are no sounds. The air is still. It's too early in spring for insects, and the birds are roosted in the trees. You are relaxed, and you could doze off to sleep. Then, behind you, over your left shoulder, you hear footsteps in the leaf litter. Not the scurrying or rustling of short-legged small animals, nor the hopping of squirrels or rabbits, but the distinct sound of individual footfalls, crunching a few dry leaves or a twig, with the authority of substantial weight above it. Every few seconds, another step, and another. Your eyes are wide open, but you cannot see any better. You cannot move for risk of spooking the animal. And there's an element of unknown and newness that makes your heart race. What is it that's coming closer and closer? What is it on the ground? Is it wise to be on the ground in the dark by yourself? You wait and listen for what seems like an hour, but is really no more than 10 minutes as it continues to approach. Then a long pause in silence. The tension in your muscles builds. You hold your breath, listening, feeling your heartbeat. Surprising you, there's an exhale of warm breath on the left side of the back of your neck. All your tense muscles ache. You release your shoulders a fraction of an inch, just the slightest bit, and the forest seems to explode as the deer that was smelling your neck jumps in reaction to the small movement and runs 15 yards downhill. You can see the deer at the edge of your peripheral vision, watching you, but you remain still, thinking how special this experience is and how you'll never forget it. You wait for the doe to look away, to turn your head for a better look, and the forest explodes anew. A second deer had still been behind you and caught your movement, and in an instant, both are gone. 60 yards back the way they came before they slow, and the forest returns to silence. That was my experience opening morning of turkey season 2 years ago in 2014. I had unknowingly sat down right on the edge of a deer run. It was a minor one. It wasn't like churned to dirt or anything like that, so I excused myself. Now, I could talk well beyond my allocated time about experiences like that, and it's these experiences that are a significant reason that hunting on this landscape sustains me. I found this experience to be educational, exciting, and deeply formative. It reinforced in me a craving to spend more time in the woods, a desire to protect open space and habitat, to sustain wildlife and this way of life for others to experience. I've been hunting for more years than not at this point in my life, but I have to admit that I do not have experiences like this every season. Nor am I the most practiced or successful hunter in the region, or even possibly the world. but I have enough successful hunts and stimulating experiences to keep me dedicated, passionate, and focused. For some context, my parents have been divorced for as long as I can remember. My dad has lived in Fitzwilliam since that split. And I spent every other weekend and some summers with him fishing, shooting, and hunting, here, in this region. He taught me the foundation lessons and responsibilities of a hunter. That shared time with him was key to deepening my connection with nature. Nobody in my mother's family hunts. She lives in Central Mass, where I went to school, where we raised show dogs, where I worked for my grandfather's residential tree removal company. I greatly enjoyed my time with both parents and my grandfather, but I quickly began to relate more with the rural lifestyle of the Monadnock region, including hunting, and this has shaped my identity. I saw firsthand the changes to Central Mass in the landscape through my work clearing house lots for development, and the lack of other kids in school that were interested in hunting and fishing, or even hiking. So when I graduated, I moved to Fitzwilliam and attended Keene State College, where I decided that my desire was to stay here and work to protect natural resources in this way of life. Originally, I thought about being a conservation officer, but as you can see me clinging to the podium up here, I don't have the confidence or the assertive demeanor to be in law enforcement. And besides, I would be working the hardest when I wanted to be out hunting. So then I looked into planning, but that was inside all the time. So luckily the job market was poor in 2007, as funny as that sounds. And when I graduated, I transitioned into Antioch to delay the inevitable. It was there that I found the Conservancy. And since day one, the Conservancy has met all my goals of being able to protect land, resources, and wildlife, supporting rural character and the rural way of life, allowing me to take vacations during hunting seasons. A significant portion of my job description includes being outside, and finally, allowing me to pass my connection to and knowledge of nature to others. Needless to say, the past 10 to 15 years have been very formative for me personally, professionally, and ethically. One strong ethic that I've developed is to hunt and fish for food and food alone. It is tough for me to kill something. Every successful hunt makes me question if I'm doing the right thing. In some ways, I'm glad it's not easy. It keeps me honest. The only justification that works for me is that I will consume the animal as part of my effort to eat local, eat healthy, and reduce my dependence on an industrial food system. I eat meat. It is important to me that I play an active role in obtaining and processing that meat. I'll spare you the details beyond saying there's a lot of unpleasantness between pulling a trigger and putting a fork in your mouth. But I feel a responsibility to myself, to the animal, and even if it sounds funny, to the planet, to go through with it all from beginning to end. Now, parts of the process don't feel great, but every time I get to pass through the meat department at the grocery store, with all its industrial ag wrapped in plastic, and don't have to pick anything up because I have game defrosting at home, I feel good. It also feels good to provide meat for my family. Now, I don't have children, but I still share my harvest with my fiance, parents, friends, and extended family. When they enjoy the meal and the discussion at the table is focused on the animal, conservation, and stewardship, I am filled with mixed emotions, including pride and success, as well as sorrow and respect at the memory of the animal. Recently, my mother and her boyfriend came up for dinner where a turkey I harvested from the Calhoun family forest was the centerpiece. This is a bird that I had called within range, harvested, plucked, processed, and cooked myself. The four of us discussed hunting, the Conservancy, its properties, and the differences between wild game and domestic animals. My mother never hunted, nor was she raised with family members hunting. So for her to share in this experience and meal with me is a special memory. As a hunter, this landscape provides my family and I with food, provides us with fodder for discussion, and enhances our connection with its places and resources. It builds relationships between me and my friends and my family. It strengthens my bond with my dog, who goes small game hunting and waterfowl hunting with me, and is also fed from my harvest. It allows me to connect with other hunters and talk to them about conservation and stewardship. It allows me to speak with conservationists about hunting and my relationship with nature. This region provides me with experiences that make me feel like part of the natural system, as opposed to different, separate, or above. Instead, I am relying upon functional habitats and natural processes. That connection is hard to describe, as it is physical, emotional, and philosophical. It is a dependence that I have for the place and that the place has for me. Now imagine yourself in the spring woods again, but this time the sun has just come up and is peeking over the horizon. The long rays of orangey light shine through the new bright green beech leaves. You've been imitating turkey calls for the past 45 minutes, and you catch movement at the periphery. Very slowly, you turn your head to the left and realize you are being hunted. Instead of calling in a turkey, you have called in a bobcat. Slowly, you put everything down and relax, settling in for a new experience. You watch the bobcat, roughly 20 yards away, walk up the slope, searching for a turkey dinner. In silence, you watch as its tail flicks in anticipation, the light reflects off its new spring coat, and it makes exciting twittering noises, much like a house cat watching the bird feeder from the window. Slowly, it bears left and disappears into the thick brush to continue hunting, part of the system.